Uh, Good morning to all of you. This is another very important session of the orientation program. It is about the gender equity and equality. Today, I am very happy to introduce our resource person who is going to talk to you about important information based on the gender equity and equality. Today, our resource person is Dr. Tilini Kananke. She is obtained her BSc Special in Food Science and Nutrition from Wimba University of Sri Lanka, MSc Organizational Management from University of Peradeniya, PhD in Food Science and Technology from University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. Previously, she is the faculty appointed member for the Center of Gender Equity and Equality. Currently, she is the director of the Center of Gender Equity and Equality of Sabaragama University of Sri Lanka, and also working as an academic member of the Department of Food Science and Technology. Now I would like to hand over this session to Dr. Tilini Kananke. Hand over to you, madam.
Oh, thank you very much for your kind introduction. Suppose you can hear me? Yes? Can you all hear me?
Yeah, madam. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So good morning, dear students. So first, I would like to welcome you all and also to congratulate for being selected to follow a degree program in the Faculty of Applied Sciences of Sabaragama University of Sri Lanka. So as introduced, I'm Dr. Tilini Kananke, and I'm also attached to the same faculty in the Department of Food Science and Technology. And currently, I am serving as the director of the Center for Gender Equity and Equality. So, so my discipline is not related to anything, anything related to gender and social studies. I'm from Food Science and Technology. So, but I'm coordinating the events of the center currently. So I will give you some kind of awareness about this center. We call this as the Gender Center, and how this will be important during your undergraduate period in the Sabaragama University of Sri Lanka, right? So, so I will explain these concepts and also the roles using a presentation. So first, let me share this presentation with you. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, madam. You can see.
Okay. Right. So here, the topic I'm going to talk about today is the gender equity and equality and also SGBV in Sri Lankan universities. So what is the meaning of SGBV? Any of you knows? What is meant by the abbreviation SGBV? Yes? Any idea?
Sexual and gender-based violence.
Yeah, that is correct. So I'm going to discuss about, in addition to gender equity and equality, sexual and gender-based violence prevailing in the Sri Lankan state universities. And so what are the protocols we are having to prevent such conditions in the university system, right? So here, so so once you come to the university, so you will experience lots of diversity around yourself, right? Because you have to mingle with colleagues. That means friends from different backgrounds, ethnic groups, different areas, different income states. So likewise. So even you will have to share these facilities with other friends not from your faculty, because when you are residing inside hostels, right? So you have to mingle with the undergraduates from other faculties as well, right? Not only from your discipline, and also in cafeteria or in the gymnasium or in the ground library. So in any place, so you have to share these resources with others. And the people who can easily understand this diversity can easily adjust to this new environment and continue academic work and other extracurricular work productively. So, but there are certain people, actually the students, so far we have found out through this period, who cannot adjust to the new setting at once, right? So they may have some disturbances and some uncertainties. So in that case, you have to identify these kind of specific individual needs and priorities and help such kind of friends to overcome these uncertainties and adjust to this environment, right? So then you all can enjoy this university stay during this, I suppose, 4-year period and pass out from the university as a graduate with a class, right? So, and so here, being here means that you don't have to agree to everything that was asked from you. So you are adults, right? So as an adult, you can think and make right choices and decisions. So that is where we can produce more productive graduates. Right. So now let's see this topic, gender equity and equality. So this might be a different area for you. So, but I will give you some kind of idea about this concept. So what is meant by this gender equity and equality? So when we read the topic itself, there are certain terms which are not familiar to you, right? So first, let's see what is this gender and what is meant by equity and what is equality and what is this sexual and gender-based violences prominent in Sri Lankan universities. So gender itself, so what is this gender? When we said the term gender, what comes into your mind? Yes? And there is another term we frequently use with the gender interchangeably. So what is that other term? Even when you are filling some application forms, maybe your university enrollment or a CV or a job application, you may have seen this gender or sex, right? So you have to fill this as either male or female. So what is actually this gender or the sex? Is it the same thing or are there any differences between the two definitions, gender and sex, right? So let's see this. Sex versus gender. So what is the difference between the two, right? In order to distinguish between sex and gender, actually there are different terms. So normally sex is known as biological sex. So while this gender known as culturally and socially constructed sex. So when it comes to the sex, it is biologically constructed. So that means, so there are some physical or biological differences between males and females. So when we consider these biological differences, so they have different sets of chromosomes inherited. And also when we consider reproductive organs and genitalia, so that is different from men and women. And also when we consider the secondary sexual hormones, which is determining the sexual characteristics of male and female are different. So what is the main hormone determining male characteristics? Yes?
Testosterone,
Testosterone in females. What are the hormones?
progesterone and estrogen.
Estrogen and progesterone are the main sexual hormones responsible for this type of development of these biological sex characteristics, right? So usually, so the sex is assigned at the birth, whether you are a male or a female, this is assigned at the birth. So, but there are some people or in the babies which we cannot exactly determine these at that moment. So we call them as intersex people. And also you may have seen sex can be changed. So in the case of transsexual people who are born with the sex characteristic of one sex, but when they are living in the society, so they have a gender identity of another. Born as a male, but they show characters of females when they live in the society, right? So in that cases, you know, there is a possibility of changing the sex. So that can be achieved through sex reassignment surgeries. So this includes a change of sex organs and also administration of hormones. And then, so some examples of these biological sex. You know, women can menstruate. So they have the menstrual cycle while men cannot. And also when we consider the gonads or these organs, so men have testicles, so where the semen production is happening. And when we consider women, so they have developed breast. So that is the main purpose is the capability of lactating, that is breastfeeding, right? So those features were developed in men and women by nature to support the reproduction process. And as you mentioned, the secondary sexual hormones, surge of testosterone in men associated with more aggressive and impulsive behavior during adolescence over females. So what is the period mentioned by adolescence? Any of you knows? Which age period? So you can find more aggressive nature because of the surge of this testosterone, like hormones in adolescence period. Any idea what is this age range? So that is usually between 10 to 20 years. So we call this as adolescence period, when a person is moving from the childhood to the adulthood. In between phase, we call these as adolescence. So that is where mainly these characteristics are prominent, and also these boys are showing these more aggressive and impulsive behaviors, right? So in addition, when we compare the bone structures, men generally having bigger bones compared with women and more strong. And then when we see the gender, so this is a social and psychological and culturally constructed role, and it is developed in the process of socialization. Right, so these societies are creating different gender norms. And when we identify different gender characteristics of male and female, so they have, purposely or without any intention, we are expressing some gender norms, like gender characters. So as an example, so even when before a baby is born, in gender revealing, so if it is a boy, so we know by ultrasound scanning or something, we can identify the gender. So in gender revealing, if it is a boy, we arrange everything in blue, right? If it is a girl, everything in pink. So likewise, we communicate our gender in a number of ways. For example, how we dress. So we know males and females having different dressing patterns. The way we move, right? How we sit, how we stand, and how our gestures are there. And then our specific hairstyles and the way we interact with each other, right? So these are some gender expressions. So as an mentioned here, so gender is culturally defined, and males and females having so different sets of roles and responsibilities assigned to them. And so if we take some examples, in most countries, yet women are earning significantly less compared with men. And also in certain countries of the world, women do more housework than men, even in Sri Lanka still. But these are changing with the time, right? So in some countries, there is a law allows people to marry a partner from the same sex, right? But in some other countries, these are not allowed or prohibited. Right, so I think you have got some general idea regarding what is sex and what is gender. Sex is biologically constructed and gender is socially constructed. So then let's focus on the other two terms, equity and equality. So by looking at this picture, I hope you can understand what is meant by the equality and what is meant by the equity. So as you can observe in the first picture, so there is a match played in the ground. So these three people, father and the two kids, want to observe this, but because of the barrier, the fence, they cannot observe this clearly. So what has happened? What is meant by equality? Can any of you say, by looking at the picture, what is equality? Yeah. From the picture,
They stand in equal size boxes.
right? All three of them have got equal resources, right? Here, three kind of boxes, similar, and they can stand up on this and observe this match. So equality means providing same thing, right? Sameness, giving everyone the same thing. So, but still, the smallest kid, he cannot still observe the match because he is much shorter, right? So then that is where the equity you can see. So equity means the fairness, giving everyone the same opportunity, allowing all the three of them to observe the match. So with that one box, he cannot achieve this, right? So what has happened now, thinking of the individual differences and needs, so this box was given to the smallest kid because father doesn't need it, right? So then all three of them can watch the match now. All are given the same opportunity. That is the fairness. So we call this as equity. So in this university setting also, so we hope to achieve this equality and equity and preventing any kind of gender disparities or inequalities. So we suppose everyone who is doing these studies here should get equal opportunities. But the reality is something different actually. So in countries like us, so some are having the most everything and most are having nothing. So that is the reality. So, but we are hoping for some kind of situation like liberation without any barriers. A day we can enjoy these resources, right? So that is about equality and equity. So, but when we actually, this is the idea here, gender equality. It is the notion that both men and women should have equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities without discrimination. So this is not the meaning that men and women are same, but so when you are doing the education here, irrespective of being a male or a female, everybody should get equal chance to this free education, right? Or for selecting for a particular subject stream, or for a particular job opportunity, or for a particular training or scholarship or promotion. Likewise, irrespective of being a male or female, everyone is having equal opportunities for these kind of things. So that is the meaning here, gender equality. And when it comes to equity, so the meaning here is the notion that specific interest, needs, and priorities of both women and men should be considered by educational and working organizations. So when we consider the University of us, actually to support the employees, particularly the female employees here. So, the females are the one mainly the caregivers of the household looking after children. This mainly happens through women. So to support these female employees, there are some preschool and daycare facilities located in the premises, right? And also during childbirth, maternity leave, irrespective of being with a permanent, temporary contract basis or just menial work, any female is entitled to this maternity leave according to the labor law. And also there are some flexible breastfeeding hours until the baby is 1 year old. So likewise, there are some specific opportunities given thinking of these individual needs and priorities. And also these providing of transportation facilities for the employees in the morning as well as in the evening to support their actually coming to work, right? So these kind of facilities are provided. So, but when we think of certain statistics available in Sri Lanka related to education, so in 1945, the free education policy came into Sri Lanka, introduced by Dr. C.W.W. Kannangara. So as a result, generations of Sri Lankans have been benefited to be educated from kindergarten to the university, regardless of any socio-economic background. So free and compulsory education in Sri Lanka, providing equal opportunities in education for students, right? Irrespective of whether boys or girls. So these equal opportunities given. So, but when we observe these gender statistics, there are some questions. So even that we pretend our education system is designed to serve boys and girls equally. So when we look at these statistics, so there is a high dropping off of boys during higher grades of the schools and even in the university enrollments. So you can see the graph here. So this includes the number of students at each grade in the government schools. So this is 2020 statistics. So you can see when in initial grades, around 1 to 11, you can see, so there is almost a similar kind of proportion of men and women in this grade 1 to 11, right? But when it comes to A levels, you can see the number of students dropping off. You can see some proportion is dropping off, and this the female proportion is increasing at A levels. So you can see grade 12 and 13, there is some increment of these proportion of females here compared with male. And when we look at the statistics from undergraduate enrollment to the universities, we can see this disparity in higher range. So you can see the average enrollment of male and female into the Sri Lankan higher education institutes, right? So here, the enrollment of female is around 64 point something, but when we consider male, almost half, around 35 point something, right? So why this disparity? And also when you look at these different subject streams, disciplines, so you can see except engineering and architecture, technology, and also computer and IT, all the other disciplines are dominated by female students. So there is a huge disparity of the number of enrolled students in like this art stream, management and commerce, even science, and also allied health sciences, medicine. So you can see these females are dominating, right? So why the girls are outnumbering boys? So even we are giving equal opportunities. So we think like that, the ideology of men and women are equal, but something is wrong, right? So that is why this is happening. And when we consider the postgraduate output by academic programs, so now you can see this disparity is somewhat reducing. The enrollment still females are higher, around 55 point something, but males you can see coming closer, around 44.5 something. So these, so why this might be happening? So we all accept men and women are physically different and no problem with that. So, but when it comes to brain, so we want to pretend we are equal, but we are not, right? Especially when educating young people in school and university. So we have to think of these reasons why men having such kind of dropping out rates. So they can have some multiple problems fueling this kind of activity. So it is found scientifically, right? So reasons for the disparity between male versus female during secondary and university education. So there are some stipulated reasons for this. So as an example, so all these I didn't mention the references here, but those are scientifically proved evidences. So in males, brain development during adolescence period of males and females are different. So these are proved by neurophysiological research studies. So in addition, males are having 2.5 times risk of developing ADHD. So what is this? ADHD stands for attention deficit hyperactivity disorders. So these include symptoms like trouble of paying attention, impulsive behavior, etc. And also males are showing 2.4 times risk of reading impairments like dyslexia. and also 3 times risk of Asperger's syndrome compared with females. That means poor social interactions and some obsessions and odd speech patterns. And 4 times higher risk of developing autism spectrum disorders. You may have heard of autism. So males are having 4 times risk of developing autism compared with females. So that is mainly attached with the brain development, right? Developmental disability caused by the differences in brain. And 5 times more aggressive by the age of 17. That is mainly because of these hormones, right? Testosterone surge during adolescence. So that behavior causing them to be more impulsive and less attention. And also it is identified lifespan of males are about 7 years lesser than females and 75% higher suicidal rate. And also they involved in this kind of activities, much higher smoking, alcohol, drugs, and sexually transmitted diseases. So these are some reasons identified among men actually, right, in education. Right, so actually, so we have to think of these things actually when we are designing the education system in Sri Lanka, in the school education as well as in university education. You know, we are still in the schools. So you're going to the school around 7:30 until 1:30. You have to sit there and listen. So these girls are perfectly adapted for this situation. But when we compare boys, so they find it is more difficult, right? Giving such attention, sitting right there from this period. So actually, there are some measures taken in other countries. So this is not only prominent in Sri Lanka, but also in other countries of the world as well, right? So therefore, this school education as well as university education should be changed, thinking of more learner-centered approaches. So when we think of this pedagogical education. And then, so there is another problem encountering. So we have seen higher enrollment of female in the university education. But when it comes to the employment, so this is going the other way around, right? So you can see this is some statistics obtained from the higher education institutes, the academic staff, the proportion of academic staff working in the higher education sector of Sri Lanka. So it is categorized like from lecturer, senior lecturer, and professor. So when it is going to the higher of the hierarchy, so you can see what is happening to this proportion between males and females. In the lower level, the lecturer level, you can see the female proportion is higher, right? 60.6 and here 39.4. But when they are climbing to the senior positions, what is happening? So this going the other way around. When it comes to professor grade, you can see the males. The proportion is around 65 point something and females are much lesser. So why this is happening, right? When they are climbing to the top level of the organizations or in these academic institutes. So why males are outnumbering females if we consider the previous statistics, right? And also when we consider the female labor force participation. So these are some statistics from 2019. You can see from South Asian countries, in Sri Lanka, only 35% women participated in the labor force of the country. So why this disparity is existing? So there are certain challenges encountered for women, particularly these occupational segregation. That means their occupations are actually limited to certain services only, like education, like teaching, lecturing in these education services and also in health services, where these employments are mainly segregated. And also wage inequality between men and women, salary inequalities. And also there are some vulnerable women in the labor market, like these poorest and least educated women, estate women. In addition, availability of limited care facilities for children, elderly people, and disabled. So these are some challenges for the women to engage in employment. and the labor laws are not updated and difficult to match with the requirements. In addition, in the managerial positions, the top level, why women leadership is lacking, right? So these are the hurdles and barriers found, challenges of the work-life balance and expectations of women in home. So they don't have much freedom to climb up this ladder because of these work-life balance. Maintaining that is somewhat difficult. And also this discrimination against women. For some positions, they don't like to take women. And also for the promotions. So even during recruitment for the jobs. So when these industrial people are asking CVs from us, of our graduates, so they prefer to take males over females in industrial setting mainly because of these leave associated like maternity leave, looking after children. So there are some obligations, right? So therefore they prefer males over females. So that is some discrimination. And also the politics, that is another thing influencing on this. So this is some general idea regarding these statistics in Sri Lanka, right? And then let me tell you something about the Center for Gender Equity and Equality of Sabaragama University of Sri Lanka. So this center, we call this as Gender Center or simply as the GE Center because CGEE, that is the abbreviation. So we call this as the Gender Center or the GE Center. And this is established in 2017. And if you visit the website, so you will find there is a policy framework and there is some bylaw related to sexual and gender-based violence. So actually, so before coming to the university, so you can visit our web page and also be informed about the university itself. So how many faculties are there in the Sabaragama University? Yes? How many faculties? Any of you? Yes, tell me.
7.
7. Any other answers?
9.
9. Okay. Any other answers? Right. So here, as you mentioned, there are 9 faculties in Sabaragama University of Sri Lanka, including Applied Sciences, Agricultural Sciences, Management Studies, Social Sciences, Geomatics, Technology, Medicine, Computing, and Faculty of Graduate Studies. So that is where all these Masters, MPhil, and PhD degree programs are taking place in the graduate studies, right? So those are the 9 faculties. In addition, to support your stay here, there are different centers and units. So as an example, Career Guidance Center. So you may have a different awareness session from that. So that is supporting to develop certain skills related to your career. Developing leadership skills, professional skills. So those things involved there. And there is a computer center. So all these enrollments, student management systems, and also learning management systems, everything actually managed by these computer centers. And then there is some research and knowledge dissemination centers. So that is where all these research conferences, symposiums, and newsletters, journals, so those things handled there. So likewise here, this Center for Gender Equity and Equality also having some kind of functions important for you. And the founding director here is Dr. Saman Handaragama and then Dr. Pulle Kamge, both are from the Faculty of Social Sciences. So I'm serving the center since last January, right? And then when we look at the vision and mission of this Gender Center of the Sabaragama University of Sri Lanka. So this is the vision of the center, a gender-responsive university with zero tolerance towards sexual and gender-based violence. So that is one thing we are highlighting. zero tolerance towards sexual and gender-based violence. So the main form of sexual and gender-based violence occurs in the Sri Lankan universities. What is that? Yes? Main type of SGBV happens in the Sri Lankan universities. Any idea? So one of the most prominent type of SGBV happening in the Sri Lankan universities are student ragging, right? So these we have zero tolerance towards the student ragging and any other kind of sexual and gender-based violence. And our mission is to enable the university to excel in providing a gender-responsive organizational environment and to integrate gender concepts into even university curriculums, and also promoting women empowerment and zero tolerance towards sexual and gender-based violence. So you know these in recent past, there has been a growing concern about prevalence of ragging and sexual and gender-based violence in state universities of Sri Lanka. So ragging is a practice affecting in all the students in the university environment, creating a kind of a toxic learning environment. So this can be either verbal abuse or the physical abuse, including drug abuse, assault, and sexual harassment. So I'm telling you these things not to, make you afraid, but make you aware. These things you already know are possible in the university system, not only here, but any Sri Lankan state university. But fortunately, now we have minimized such kind of activities to a kind of very limited amount. So as a consequence of these kind of ragging, in short term, students may not be able to concentrate properly on their studies. And also some may dropping out from university because of this stress, right? So when they initially come to the university, and if they have to face such kind of situations, so some cannot adapt to this situation, and even dropping out of these universities are possible. So the UGC, which oversees all higher educational institutions in Sri Lanka, has put some additional regulations aimed to prevent this kind of harassments to the students. So let's see these processes through this center, what is happening, how they are handling this kind of complaints, and how the students are giving, some kind of, so you should know how to complain and what are the procedures available if such case happen, right? So the thing is, you should be aware. So then you can take some action. So let's see the hierarchy of the structure here. Actually, we are directly under the control of the UGC Gender Center, right? So the University Grants Commission, they have a separate gender center. So under that, at each university, we have separate gender centers. In Sabaragama University, in Moratuwa, Wayamba, in all the kind of Sri Lankan state universities, there are gender centers. And under the University Gender Center, at each faculty also, we have separate faculty level gender cells. And there are some important functions carried out like this SGBV, preventive mechanisms, redressal mechanisms, and also research and policy planning, training and development of particularly the academic participants to handle these kind of problems in universities, and administration and coordination of activities. So these are the main roles happened by these gender centers of the university. And when we think of, consider the composition of this university gender center, the main responsible person is the Vice Chancellor. In addition, there are other people like Director of the Gender Center, Deans of the faculties, and from administration, we have Registrar Bursa, Director SDC, and also 2 academic representatives from each faculty. That means staff members, and 2 students from each faculty, one male and one female. And the one most close to you is the faculty level gender cell. So in the faculty level gender cell, the chairperson is the dean. And from each department, we have 2 academic representatives and 2 student representatives. How many departments in our faculty? Yes? How many departments? Are you aware how many departments in Faculty of Applied Sciences?
Four departments.
There are 4 departments. What are the 4? You belong to which department? Yes. So one department is food
Department
science. Yeah,
Science and Technology,
right. Department of Food Science and Technology.
Department of Natural Resources,
Natural Resources.
Department of Physical Sciences and Technology,
And
Department of Sports Science and Physical Education.
Physical Education, right? So I think all of you are representing one of those 4 departments. My department is Food Science and Technology. In addition, we have Department of Natural Resources and then Department of Physical Sciences and Technology. And there are 3 subject streams there like Computer Science, Chemistry and Physics, right? And then Department of Sports Sciences and Physical Education. Again, there are 2 subject streams like Sports Science Management and Physical Education. There are 2 degree programs. So likewise, we have 4 departments. From the 4 departments, there are from each one 2 academic staff members representing the gender cell and 2 students again from each department representing faculty level gender cell. So if you have encountered any problems, so this is the most closest place where you can go. So there are no restrictions. You can directly access the University Gender Center, the director myself, or even the Vice Chancellor, or the Dean of the faculty, or any member of this faculty level gender cell, right? Then, so what are the functions of this gender center? Why this might be important to you during your stay here? So one thing we are doing is awareness. So what I'm doing now is also some kind of awareness during student orientation program. In addition, from time to time, we are organizing workshops, seminars, and training programs for the students as well as for the staff. And so such programs we have organized so far include some formulate and implement progressive and inclusive sex education program for the undergraduates. So that is one thing we have found important because so even because you are from the science stream, some of you may aware about these kind of things, but some others coming from other subject streams from schools may not be aware because even this kind of lesson related to this sexuality and reproduction is there in the school education, particularly health education course. So some even because I found in my son mentioned this particular lesson was not done at the school, it was skipped, right? All the other lessons were taught, but that particular lesson was skipped and he asked me to explain these at home while studying for the exam. So that is how our education system is working, not openly talk about these things. So actually we need to address these things. So if we do not do these things, so that is going to some negative consequences because we can find some unhealthy relationships and also sexual relationships and also leading to unwanted pregnancies and unwanted abortions, like even in the university setting. So we have found such cases so far. So what is mainly, who are the people mainly suffering such conditions are females actually, right? So therefore you should be aware of these things and what are the contraception methods available and also what are the sexually transmitted diseases and how these are happening. And then sexual and gender-based violences, possible in university system, not only in the university, even in the community, anywhere this can happen. In public transportation, right? Any public place, even in the university, anywhere, this sort of thing can happen to you, even at home, right? So self-empowerment, leadership programs, women empowerment, and then bylaws related to SGBV, Ragging Act, and cyber crime. So these are some sort of awareness we are giving to students. And these are some pictures from such workshops conducted. And this table also included some of these workshops and awareness we conducted for students and the staff of the university. So in addition to these, we are considering gender issues in planning infrastructure facility development of the university. So there should be sufficient and appropriately located sanitary facilities in washrooms. So males and females require different kind of facilities there. And then adequate lighting of university spaces and intra-university hostel facilities, particularly in your first year, right? So here the administration providing the hostels owned by the university, right? So the girls' hostel actually inside the university premises. This is mainly thinking of the security of the students. The first year students will have these intra-university hostel facilities. So actually Sabaragama University is providing accommodation facilities in all 4 years. In first year and final year, you will get the university hostels, university-owned hostels. And in the second and third year, mainly, you have to go to the outside houses rented by the university, right? So these rented houses actually taken as hostels and provided in second and third years. So you can actually in the first year, you can stay at the inside hostels, and also in the fourth year to support your studies, the high workload, we are providing hostel facilities inside. And then representation of both male and female students as office bearers and members of the student councils and subject associations. So that is also somewhere we see lack of female students, particularly in student unions, in office-bearing positions like president, secretary, treasurer, and other kind of positions. We don't see much female students. So, but to voice their concerns, matters, and problems as well, there should be some female voice in those top positions of these kind of student societies. So in addition, we have subject associations. That means in our food science department, we have a subject association in food science and technology. And so in that association, so we currently have a male or a boy as a president and a girl as a secretary, and some other positions actually divided between men and women. So we can work nicely. In all the other departments of our faculty, we have separate subject associations. And once you join the university, so you can work into these subject associations. So as an example, you may have seen or aware about this, the ProFood ProPack exhibition conducted in previous week at BMICH. So mainly those were covered by our subject society, designing the stall and also the product innovations, everything planned based on the subject association, right? So it is very good actually engaging in such kind of activities. You can develop these interrelationships among yourself and also with the staff members. Right, so actually being a productive graduate means not only engaging in your academic work. So you have to engage in all the other kind of activities, even maintaining a good, healthy relationship, right? So those things are important. So you can engage in your academic work, and there are many extracurricular things you can participate. Like there are many sports. So as you know, we have a sports department, and all the kind of available sports facilities are there. A swimming pool, a gym, a ground, basketball court, badminton court, everything, right? So what you have to do is participate in these activities. And then also these aesthetic activities, dancing, singing, all these things are available, and students are organizing such activities. So you can participate, show your talents. So ultimately, you can go as a productive graduate with a high class. So in addition, we are doing some research related to gender studies. And also we are encouraging some activities organized by the center, particularly for International Women's Day, and also some dramas and kind of debates and activities related to this gender. And training programs. And also one very important thing we are doing is actually we have some mechanisms to prevent or to respond to sexual gender-based violence cases, inquiring complaints and taking actions against such kind of offenders. So let me show you how these the sexual gender-based violence cases, what we can do in such conditions, right? So this is the last part of this presentation. Some awareness regarding sexual and gender-based violence prevailing in university system, and what is this grievance redress mechanism. That means how we can prevent this, right? So let's talk about this a little. So when we talk about these sexual and gender-based violences occurred in Sri Lankan university system. So since decades back and up to now, you can identify there are several, identified cases. So there is some publication actually including these types of sexual and gender-based violences. Some prominent cases occurred in Sri Lankan universities, right? So here, starting from here, 1975, Rupa Ratnasili of University of Peradeniya leaped off from the second floor of the Ramanathan Hall hostel to avoid grave sexual abuse. And she was paralyzed, and many years after, she committed suicide. In 1992, female student stabbed to death by ex-boyfriend at the University of Kelaniya. So you know, a similar thing happened very recently at University of Colombo, right? In 93, Chaminda Punkaleva died as a result of ragging at University of Ruhuna. And also, so if you read this list, there are some cases reported. Even there are cases which are not reported. There are many, right? So here, so in such kind of harassments, so what you can do? Grievance redress mechanism. So if you face any of these harassments in the university system, maybe student ragging, or it can be some kind of harassment from even academic staff member or a non-academic staff member, or even one of your colleague, or even one of your senior, or maybe an outsider. So there are some measures you can take. So one thing is, you have a faculty level gender cell, and also there is a university gender center. You can report to any of these places in writing or else verbally, right? And there is an online complaint mechanism. So that is actually located in the UGC website. So what you can do is you can visit the UGC website and you can enter the complaint by yourself without telling this to anybody else. So if you feel uncomfortable telling this to anyone else, what you can do is you can enter the complaint by yourself. So this UGC, so the online complaint mechanism is an initiative of the UGC that has been set up as a mean of any member of the university community can lodge a complaint regarding incidents of ragging, any other form of sexual and gender-based violence, bullying, or any kind of violence happening. And all the complaints lodged will be investigated and victims of such incidents. That means if you have faced such kind of activity, you will be supported while the inquiry is going on. So what are the type of grievances or the harassments that can be lodged? All forms of student ragging and sexual harassment, sexual and gender-based violence, bullying, like any of these things can be reported, right? So who can make complaints? Not only you, not only the students, any stakeholder of the university. Might be an academic staff member or a non-academic member or administrative staff member, temporary member, anybody of the university community can make complaints through this system. And who is responsible for taking actions for such complaints? So that can be the Vice Chancellor, proctor of the university. There is a proctor for the university to look at these disciplinary matters. And then there are student counselors. At each faculty, there is a senior student counselor and many other counselors. And all of you may have a mentor, right? So you can access to your mentor as well if any such problem is arising. And deans, heads of the departments or the gender center. So all complaints once lodged will be investigated and you cannot withdraw them. After lodging the complaint, you cannot withdraw. So if the complaints are found to be false or malicious, those who made such complaints will be subjected to disciplinary procedures. දැන් මේකේ අර විහිළුවට දාන complaints ඒ වගේව කරන්න බෑ, right? So these should be official. And this is the complaint hotline available in the UGC. You can directly access this hotline number. And there is a person in the UGC Gender Center who is taking down the complaints if you access the hotline. Or else you can directly go to the web link and do this complaint by yourself. So how does the complaint mechanism is working? So any member after lodging the complaint, so what will happen is UGC directing the complaint to the respective university, right? So then the university officials, particularly the Vice Chancellor, involved in appointing inquiry committees and investigating the matter. And then finally, if the suspect found to be wrong, so punishments are given. So that is the simple procedure. In simply, I mentioned that is how this is working. And how to lodge an online complaint. So for this, you have to log into the UGC website by the web link www.ugc.ac.lk. So then, so I will show you how to do this. So I will stop sharing the presentation here and show you how to do. Right. Can you all see the UGC web page here? Yes.
Yeah, madam.
Can you see? Yes.
Yes, madam.
Right. So first you have to visit this UGC web page. And here you can see from these tabs here links, right? In the links, the first tab here, CGEE stands for Center for Gender Equity and Equality. Either you can click this, or if you go down here, under the quick links, you will come to this Center for Gender Equity and Equality of the University Grants Commission. So you can click this one. So this is the page for the UGC Gender Center. So here the main, here you can see the ragging and sexual harassment is a crime at university system. So in here you can see, if you go down the page, complaint hotline, that is the number you can directly access, the hotline number, or else there is a link for this online complaint portal, right? So you can click this if you want to lodge the complaint. So click this online complaint portal. So you will come to this page. So welcome to Ragging and Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Complaint Portal of the University Grants Commission, right? So you can access these in any of these 3 languages. So I will show in English how to lodge the complaint. So you have to click this complaint portal. So first you have to read this content here. So that is explaining the things I have already explained to you. So, so why this mechanism was initiated to ensure a secure university environment, and how does the online complaint mechanism is working, and who can make the complaints, and what are the types of complaints you can lodge. All this information mentioned here. Who are responsible for taking actions like this, right? So after reading this content, you can go to the next. So these important facts mentioned here to be filled by the complainant. So the complainant might not be you, right? So it can be either you or one of your parents, or maybe your siblings, or maybe your teacher, whoever can do this complaining. And these fields marked with this red color asterisk mark, those are mandatory. That means you must fill them. Without them, we cannot proceed with these complaints. And please note that we require your identification in order to investigate the complaints. No point of lodging anonymous complaints without any names or details. No point of lodging anonymous complaints because they cannot proceed with the complaint then. දැන් ඔයගලා මොකක් හරි සිද්ධියක් අපි මේ පළමු වසර සිසුන් ව්‍යවහාරික විද්‍යාපීඨයේ පළමු වසර සිසුන් එහෙම කියලා කම්ප්ලේන් එක කරාට so we cannot proceed far. Just we can aware such thing is happening and we can give some kind of advices, but apart from that we cannot give punishments if you do not state clearly what has happened to whom and with proper evidence. And give the valid phone number to inform you about the progress of the lodged complaint. So you should give a contact number to, so then the center can give you the progress of your complaint. So after reading these things, you can go to this lodge a complaint. So this is where you have to fill the information. Complainant type. පැමිණිලිකරු කවුද කියන එක මෙතන තමයි පුරවන්න තියෙන්නේ. So this can be the student. That means you can lodge the complaint, or else anybody else mentioned here. It might be a parent. It might be a brother or sister of you, or maybe an observer, staff member, or any other relative or non-relative, right? So you can click here like this. And then name of the complainant. So if you are lodging, so you have to mention the name of yourself here. Then තමන්ගේ identity එක reveal කරන්න කැමති නැත්නම් you can ask your parent to lodge the complaint, or maybe even for a teacher. And then the complainants, maybe your parents, so they have to give these contact details: national identity card number, phone number. Phone number is very important to reach to get the information, and if there is an email, you can enter these here. And then complainant's gender, male or female. Then affected person's name. This is not a necessary. I mean, this is not a must. මෙතන අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම කාටද මේක උනේ කියලා ලියන්න ඕනේ නැහැ අපි, right? But it is good to have, vital to have affected person's contact number, because we have to get information about the incident. Therefore, there should be a working contact number. And affected person's gender. Then make a gender-based violence එකක්ද කියලා හොයන්න. So we should give the gender. And then you have to select the university here, because in UGC it is related to all the universities. So you have to select our one, right? Sabaragamu University. So if we include the university only, they can direct it to the particular university, the complaint, right? So you have to mention what is the university here. And faculty even you can mention here, but it is not a must. And also you can include the degree program, then it can trace easily incident, right? If you include all these details, we can trace easily. And place where the incident occurred. So might be cafeteria. So likewise, you can enter. And date and the time the incident occur. So likewise, you can enter time in the morning, noon, evening, likewise, a time period. The names of the alleged person responsible. කවුද මේක කරේ කියන එක, right? Who is responsible for the harassment? So you can either enter this if you know this, or if you don't know, it is okay to keep it empty, right? And then complain you have to make clearly. මොකද්ද සිද්ධ වුනේ කියන එක හරියටම මෙතන complain එක ඔයගලන් සඳහන් කරන්න ඕනේ. කවදාද මෙතන උනේ කොයි වෙලාවෙද උනේ කියලා දාලා තියෙනවා. මොකද්ද වෙච්ච සිද්ධිය කියන එක මෙතන පැහැදිලිව දාන්න ඕනේ. So if you have any names, contact numbers, you can include them. And any additional files you can upload here. Select files to upload. If you have any video clips, any photos, any conversations, maybe messages, WhatsApp conversations or Facebook, whatever, if you have the evidence, you can upload the files here. Even if you want to write a particular letter regarding the incident, so you can upload the letter here. And then have you already complained to your educational institute? මේ සිද්ධිය සම්බන්ධයෙන් කලින් university එකට report කරාද? Right? Have you already complained to your educational institute regarding this complaint? So if it is yes, you have to mention here yes. And if you contacted an official before lodging the complaint, give details. ඒ විදියට contact කරා නම් university එකේ කවුරු හරි කාටද මේ පැමිණිල්ල කරේ? To the vice chancellor or the dean of the faculty, or for a student counselor or a mentor for whom you have complained in the university, you can mention here. And if any actions were taken by the university itself, you can mention here. Or if any actions were not taken after complaining, even that you can mention here. So after filling all the necessary information, you have to submit the complaint by here. Submit the complaint. So that is the process, right? How you can lodge a complaint by yourself or maybe by any other complainant. So did you understand this? So that is the most important part for you, I think. So we are doing awareness time to time and also some other things. But when you most initially come to the university, you should be aware of this, how you can make a complaint, right? මේක මෙහෙම මම කිව්වේ මෙහෙම දේවල් සිද්ධ වෙනවා කියලා කියන්න නෙමෙයි, but you have to be cautious. You have to aware if any such condition happens, how we can avoid it, right? So that is why I give these instructions. නැතුව මේ විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයට එන එකට බය කරන්න නෙමෙයි කිව්වේ, right? එහෙම දේවල් වෙන්නෙත් නෑ, ඊටාම කලාතුරකින් වෙන්නේ. එහෙම දෙයක් වුණොත් අපි කොහොමද ඒකට action එකක් ගන්න කියන එක කියන්න තමයි මම මේක කිව්වේ මේ වෙලාව, right? So I think, so that's all I want to actually tell you today regarding the Center for Gender Equity and Equality. So I have explained you the terms, what is meant by gender, equity and equality. So we are targeting a gender responsive environment without any discrimination. And so there are some specific roles played by the center. So this is one main thing, addressing issues related to sexual and gender-based violence. So what you have to do is actually you have to give us your hands to help us to maintain a university without any kind of violence and discrimination. So without your help, we cannot achieve this. So I suppose, I hope all of you will help to achieve this objective. So then you can enjoy your university stay in this 4-year period without any stress, right? And you can enjoy here very much. So that is what I want to do today. If you have any clarifications, you can ask. Have you understood what I did here? තේරුණාද ඔයාලන්ට මං කියපු ඒවා? At least a yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One question, madam, are there no hostels for second and third year? No, all 4 year we are providing hostels. So we have inside hostels owned by the university premises, and we have outside hostels. Those are rented houses. මේ area එකේ තියෙන houses rent කරලා තමයි second year එකේ third year එකේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට දෙන්නේ. First and final year, so we have the university owned hostels. අපිට තියෙනවා වලව complex කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා. ඊළඟට boys ලට තියෙනවා සිංහරාජ complex. So likewise in your first year and the last year you will get the hostel facility inside the university, but in your second and third year outside the university ඒවා ගොඩක් වෙලාවට rented houses. University එකෙන් rent කරලා ගනිපු ඒවා. Any other clarifications? අනිත් එක දැන් ඔයගලන් අවුරුදු 4න් යම් කිසි කාල පරාසයක් ඔයගලන්ට online method එකකිනුත් ඉගෙන ගන්න වෙනවා, right? Maybe a semester or a year, so that is a possibility. When will the campus start physically? I think when your orientation program is over. කවද වෙනකන් තියෙනවද orientation program එක? Until 16th. So I think after 16th, in 1 or 2 weeks time, you will the academics will start. I don't know whether it is physically or online, but as soon as the orientation program is finished, so you will start with academic semester. So the date was not fixed yet, right? Any other things to clarify? So if not, we can wind up the session here, right? If you do not have anything to clarify, so we can wind up here. So during your stay here also, if you have any clarifications, we can explain those things. I had a board to another university. What is the meaning of that? Right, so you can contact the student affairs division here and get the information, right? I suppose you have already dealt with the student affairs division. So try to contact there and see what is happening regarding that, right? So if you do not register for the new one, I think there is no problem, right? So please clarify it with student affairs branch. ඔය කියලා තියෙන ටික හරියටම ඔයගලන් මේ ස්ටුඩන්ට් affairs එකෙන් දැනගන්න එතන senior assistant registrar ඉන්නවා Mr. Danuka Tennakon. You call him and inquire about these matters regarding your registration, okay? Right, shall we stop the session here then?
Yeah, madam.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Thirini, for accepting our invitation with your busy schedule. This session was actually very informative session. Hope students got a clear idea on gender equity and equality conduct in the Faculty of Applied Sciences. Again, thank you very much, Dr. Thirini, for your participation. This is the end of this morning session. Now we wind up the session. Have a nice day for everyone.